Hello, 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 everyone, and welcome. It is the Progress Report. I'm your host, Dion Sage. It's so wonderful to be back. I hope everybody had a wonderful holiday. A lot of things went on during the holiday, but where shall we begin? So, our commander in chief for the next few days decided that he was going to make another, yet again, perfect phone call. This time, instead, he made that phone call to the Secretary of State in Georgia, and it was a lengthy phone call. I don't know if you heard the phone call. I listened to it. It was about an hour long. But before this phone call, apparently Donald Trump had called him 18 times, and then the 19th time he decided to pick up and talk. And on that phone call, there were several other people on the phone call and all this stuff. But yet, um, Donald Trump still did what Donald Trump does: obstruct justice, look for help so he can boost himself up and remain president. I found it really ironic with only about less than 20 days left. He still finds a way to put himself in the news, put himself at the forefront, distract the entire country from one of the real issues inside this country. And Donald Trump to call somebody 19 times, 18 times they don't pick up. You know what I mean? Usually after that, if you continually calling after, that's considered stalking. I mean, Donald Trump has become like that baby father who doesn't want to leave because he needs somewhere to plug up his Xbox or his PS5. I just can't wait till tomorrow. Tomorrow, hopefully everything is corrected and justice prevails. Those those little Republicans, hopefully they just be quiet and just sit down tomorrow and not worry about anything. But I also found this very interesting. This over the holiday break, I found this very interesting that many people are getting the vaccine, and you know what, and there's so much judgment going on about the vaccine and who should get the vaccine, who shouldn't get the vaccine. And all I'm gonna say is like everything else, it's like mind your business, let people be people, let people make their own decisions. But everyone, please make an informed decision, because I'm seeing people who eat Doritos, Diet Coke, and McDonald's all day long talking about they don't want to put that junk in their body. Like, come on, please be rational when you're sitting there doing that. Don't just sit there and say, "Oh, I don't want to put junk in my body," and you had five tortillas and nachos with everything on it, including extra jalapenos. Like, you can't talk about putting junk in your body. And lastly, but not least, to all my friends out there, I know that times is hard and things are hard, and for years we have seen the bitter baby mama statuses going up and talking about, oh, my baby daddy, blah blah blah, or the toxic baby father. Now we have the toxic baby fathers going back at the baby mamas. Let's just stop spreading toxic into the child. Let's leave the child alone. Like, seriously, you can't keep doing this, like, back and forth, back and forth. We see it on Facebook. We understand times is hard and you want to get back at them. You got your heart broken and all this stuff. But just with all that said, I hope everyone is right now liking and sharing this right now. Welcome to our new time, and I cannot wait for the show that we have today. I have my friend, my good friend, and my guest co host for tonight, Neight Banx, here tonight. And also, we have a representative all the way from Hawaii. Yes, Hawaii, the only openly gay legislator in the state of Hawaii, and that is Adrian Tam. He is going to be joining us. I am super excited. I can't even wait. You don't understand, like, getting ready and prepared for this show. Like, I was like nervous, sweating, nerve wracking, and all this stuff. But you know what? I have to remember I'm with all of you, each and every one of you out there. And I want to say thank you. With that said, now I'm going to call in my friend for a segment I like to call Dion and Friends, where we discuss some of the hot topics. My good friend, my buddy, Neight Banx. I think you're still muted, love.
Was fully muted and fully just swore as loud as possible. So glad that was happening. Can I tell you? that you were talking about the call that Donald Trump made. How many times did he call?
He called 18 times prior, and then on the 19th time, the Secretary of State decided to, what's it, Raffenberger, or something
I
like that.
don't
He
know.
decided to pick.
Let me tell you, don't ever call me. Just don't do it. I have things to do. I've got places to be. If it can't be sent in a text, you can email or you can send it to me, snail mail. Well, with the post offices being working as hard as they've been working, I
I mean,
think maybe just send me an owl.
I think that just shows, Nate, that President Trump doesn't know how to take no for an answer.
And that's disgusting across all contexts. So, you've mentioned there
So,
were a few things going on over the holiday. Just a
a few
few.
things. Come on. I mean, they can't decide. They can't decide if we should just have 600 or we should get 2,000.
Which,
The
listen,
only one holding
2000
that up
would be
is.
mint right about now, let me tell you.
Let, listen, seriously. They can afford to give 2,000 to every American. I think an additional 2,000 on top of the 600 that they have given out. And seriously, I think it's disgusting that Mitch McConnell can hold up a piece of legislation. It's obvious you have the House passed their bill, passed their measure, and now all you have to do is pass your measure, and you don't. He doesn't even want to put it on the floor. That I
And
think
it
that's about
and
to have that kind of power where you can't put something. You don't want something on the floor. That's sad. Sorry, go ahead. Sorry about that.
exactly. No, the you're saying that it doesn't wanna put it on the floor. It's systems like that, it's cheat codes like that. Have you ever, in a group of people, needed to suggest a place to eat, um, but didn't, and then, uh, shut down everyone else's suggestions? Because I feel like that's what is happening now with Mitch McConnell. But the people who uh, need to decide where to eat are starving, don't have
Hmm.
money in the bank, are the lowest and least among us financially and aren't able to provide for themselves. This pandemic has been devastating across the country, across the globe, absolutely devastating. And for them to sit
Everyone's felt it except for the multi-billionaires. Jeff Bezos hasn't felt the pandemic. Let's be real,
I
because
don't
a lot of people have been ordering more on Amazon than anything.
exactly. So, just a few things tonight.
Yes, we do have a few things. At least 12 GOP senators say they're going to challenge the Joe Biden win. Let me give you some facts on this first, my friend. Senate Republicans are officially preparing to challenge President-elect Joe Biden electoral college win on January 6th, a stunning development that demonstrates just how far someone in the GOP will go to align themselves with President Donald Trump's flaying claims that the election was stolen from. It continues. 11 more Republican senators announced Saturday they will challenge Biden's election victory next week when Congress gathers, which is tomorrow. They're planning on gathering tomorrow, and they're going to stand up and say, "We object to what the will of the people are." Um,
That sounds
I
a
like
little
what
anti-democratic.
and you know what? You know what? It's crazy because
I want in
we were
trouble.
looking for a Democrat to say something, but the great thing is that there are some Republicans that are like, hey, wait a minute. This is supposed to be a Democratic Republic, and you are just challenging the will of the people. And the one who said that was Pat Toomey, Republican senator from Pennsylvania. He said, fundamental defining feature of a democratic republic is the right of the people to elect their own leaders. The efforts by Senators Hawley, Cruz, and others to overturn the results of the 2020 presidential election in swing states like Pennsylvania directly undermines this right. He continues, the senators justify their intention by observing that there have been many allegations of fraud. But allegations of fraud by a losing campaign cannot justify overturning an election.
Hmm. I want any trouble,
You
but
lost.
get over it. I feel like we've heard that once
Okay, you know
before.
what? You know what? I'm a Cowboys fan. We lost a division. I want a recount. I want a reseason. That's what I want. That's what I want.
I
It
don't
works
know what
like
that
that, right?
means, but if you're not on the cast list, you didn't get the part.
Sorry. Sorry.
Sorry. Speaking
I
of
love it.
mugs, I I see you have beautiful mugs behind you,
Yes,
including a
I do. I
cowboy
have
one.
several mugs. Several mugs. I have my coffee with D collection over here. Behind me, I
Beautiful.
have some other ones. I have another one, but I can't wait for that one to come back out because what happened was in the process it got a little damaged, so I have to send that back to the person that made it for
Uh,
me, and it's gonna be fixed. It's gonna get fixed. It's
oh,
okay. I was
nice.
hoping to have it for tonight, but it's okay. It's
All right. There will
but
be
I decided
other progress reports.
yes. So, but I decided to go with I'm a Star Wars fan.
Perfect. Well, mine, I don't know if you. Mine has a little. I'm wordy, and I like wordy things. I only learned to read a couple weeks ago, so it's jury's still out. But my mug says I've got 99 problems, and white heteronormative patriarchy is basically all of them. And I feel like what you just read about all those senators is like the tea.
Mm, hmm. That is the T. However,
I
what's
want any
going
trouble.
on right now, control of the Senate will be determined by the final results of today's two key Senate runoff elections in Georgia. So, no candidate in either Georgia Senate races won a majority of the vote on November 3rd, triggering a runoff by both seats, with the top two candidates in each race facing off. Control of the Senate now hinges on the outcome of these two races. Republican Senator David Perdue is running for re-election against Democrat John Ossoff, I think I pronounced that correctly, in a regularly scheduled election. The latest polls in there's some polls coming in actually. Um, Offset is leading Perdue with 46% of the vote in. He's leading Perdue by 6%. And Warnock, who is the other Democratic challenger against Kelly Loeffler, is leading Loeffler by 9% right now, with only 46% of the vote in Georgia. So what happens if they win? I believe if they win those two seats, Nate, what happens is now it is a tie in the Senate, and Kamala Harris being the vice president being the vice president, she would be president of the Senate, so she would break that tie, have the tying vote, which I think that would just a majority.
Right, and I think too that we can sort of get I uh, so much stress. Um, and I think knowing,
Listen,
right, you just said a whole bunch of super smart stuff, and I'm just like, can we please just feed, clothe, and house poor people? Like, I don't understand being the most affluent country that this is like a thing. You know what I mean?
mm,
And it's
I,
I'm wearing a
yeah,
shirt
I agree. I agree.
and it was handmade by our friend Gabriel. Uh, and before we head to break, I want to say that they are on Etsy. I purchased this shirt. It is like it's wonderfully like stitched, and it says, "The power of the people is stronger than the people in power." I just want people to remember that across all platforms.
That's you know what that that's great. That you're always right. That's right. The power of the people always outweigh the people in power. And I always believe that. And we have to sit here and remember that it's us that we vote these people in. And we have the power to get them out. So I'm always believing power. But hold that thought. We will be right back after a Hello, everyone, and we are back. We'll be talking a little bit more later today, but before we get to that, I am super excited. Words can express how excited I am to start off our second season this year. I'm so excited to have state representative from Hawaii, Adrian, here. Uh, Representative Tam was born and raised in Honolulu, Hawaii. He's a proud graduate of Kalani High School and received his bachelor's from Pennsylvania State University. Upon graduating, Tam became a licensed real estate. In 2016, he worked as a temporary hire at the Hawaiian State House of Representatives before moving to the Hawaii State Senate to work for Senator Stanley Chang. From 2017, in 2020, Tam launched a successful campaign for Hawaii State Senate House of Representatives. Tam is currently the representative for Hawaii State House, District 22, serving Makiki and Ala Mahana. Wonderful to have you here, Representative.
Thank you so much for having me, and it's good to be here.
It's great. It's great to have you here. I'm excited to have you here. I know you're over there where you're still working over there, correct? And
yeah, that's right. We are still working. Yeah, there are some hearings going on right now, but I have my staff monitoring it, and everything's fine.
No problem. So I'm not going to try to hold you up too much longer because I know you have some great work that you got to do out there in the state in the state of Hawaii. But I have a question for you. What made you decide? What made you decide? What was it? Say, I'm going to get up and I'm going to run for politics.
Well, that's a pretty easy question for me, actually. What really made me decide on whether or not I was going to get off the sidelines and get into politics was because of my work already. So prior to this, like you said, I've been working with Senator Chang, and I worked in the Hawaii State House already. But ultimately, it came down to, am I happy with what we have right now in Hawaii? We have tons of people moving out of Hawaii, and we have a population decline that's going down really drastically right now. And when you look at the numbers, it's not that older people are moving on. It's not that mothers are having less babies. It's people who look like me with my kind of resume that are finding opportunities in Texas or California that are leaving. And these are local kids here who called this place their home, and now they're being forced out because either it's too expensive, there are no job opportunities, or there's no housing here. And I told myself I wouldn't forgive myself if I didn't run for office, and here I am.
Nice. you become a bit of the celebrity in the LGBTQ community, which is pretty cool. I mean, we found out about you, and our producers reached right out to you and said, "Hey, we got to try to get him on the show." You responded. Um, how does that make you feel?
Well, I'm still the same Adrian that people know from my district, when we were working to restore a park, or we were working to get kids meals when the schools close. Um, as much as attention that I've received, I've tried to stay grounded and really focus back on, what got me elected, which was my dedication to my community here in Waikiki and Ala Moana. So in a way, it does feel different, but um, I haven't become, I'm not, I haven't become more arrogant because of it. So that's
Mm.
how I stay grounded by, having some good family and friends that like to insult me and make fun of me.
I mean, I think we all have family that like to make fun of us and try to insult us. I know my family, my older cousins, all the time they would pick on me. I was the smallest one. I used to make I used to make the joke. I said they used to take the dinner off my plate. That's why I was so small. But they always used to pick on me and things like that. Um, I keep hearing you say community. I keep hearing you say community,
Yes.
and let's talk about your community. When you walk out your door, okay, paint me a picture of what you see when you walk out your door in the.
Well, when I walk out my door, I see people walking their dogs. I see kids playing at the park. I see, people going to work, or taking their kids to school. And what makes our community so special is that it's very diverse. We have people from different incomes, different ages, different backgrounds, all living in this area that I represent. Waikiki Alamont District 22 is one of the most transient districts in the state, if not the most transient district in the state. We have a lot of rentals, so people are moving in and out. And in a way, it's difficult for elected officials to get loyalty, so they can keep getting reelected. But it's kind of nice so that um, this community is ever changing, and we are always learning different kind of perspectives. So I am really blessed to be able to represent District 22 and to be able to grow with my community and to learn from my community.
So I heard you say transient because that's a problem we also have here in my neighborhood, South Providence, where I live. I know that's a problem with many neighborhoods across the country. What are the main reasons that these neighborhoods become so transient? And a second to that question, if you can, what are some ways that we can not make these that people want to stay and live or can afford to live?
Well, I'm going to say half and half of my district is transient, but it is more transient than other districts in the state. So the reason why it's transient is because there's a number of rentals, and people don't tend to want to stay in rentals, or they want to move around when it comes to rentals. So, you got a promotion in your job, you got a new job or whatever, you make more money, you want to sprue for a rental with 2 bedrooms instead of 1 bedroom, they move out of the district and someone else moves in. And we have people who have, want to move up with their parents, and they can't afford to rent out someplace that's closer to town or in a bigger house. There are smaller rentals available. And when they get that job promotion, they move out as well. So, it's not a problem of it being transient for that case. But my main concern has to do with the brain drain in Hawaii, where people are moving out of the state for opportunities elsewhere. And you move around the state, that's fine for me. That's normal. But I want to keep our local kids here.
Um, so this is gonna be my last question, and then I'm
Mhm.
gonna bring Nate back, okay, and we're gonna have a little conversation. Um, as a gay Asian man, what do you think the single biggest issue uh, for the LGBT?
I'm sorry, you're cutting in and out there. What was the question?
I'm, I'm sorry about that. As a gay Asian man, what do you think is the single biggest issue for the LGBTQIA plus community?
Um, I think the single greatest issue has to be um, us. I'm going to just say that I think the single greatest issue is not something policy wise, but it is us being complacent with what we have and forgetting about all the other issues that other people face going on. You know, us as the gay community, we've made many strides in the past couple of years with marriage equality, with you know, anti-job discrimination bills, gay panic defenses passing across many states, and conversion therapy being banned. And what I've been seeing is that uh, many in the LGBT community kind of forget that, you know, these issues transcend other areas to racial matters, to women's rights, and it's kind of selfish. It's become a, you know, I have my rights now. Why do I need to care about other people's? Well, here's why they should care. Because if suddenly LGBT people finally reach full equity and they vote for whoever they want, and this person promises to preserve the LGBT rights that we have, but attacks another group such as immigrants or Muslims, ultimately what ends up happening if that person gets elected is that they will go back on their promise and they will start hurting our community again. So that is the biggest issue, and it's not something that we can change by policy. It's something we have to change through interviews like these and
Right.
through different talks and um, you know, just connecting with others.
Thank you so much for that. So now we're gonna bring in Nate. Bring back Nate. Hey Nate, sorry about that.
I'm
So
still muted.
you're still muted.
I was muted, and then I had a whole monologue. Hello, how are you? Nice to meet you. I love your perspective. Turns out it was all on mute, and I have forgotten what I said. So I apologize, but Representative Tam, you you are I'm sitting here scratching notes, uh, and the words complacency stick with me in sort of like I've got my rights. No, I'm good. I'm all set. Um, and I just think it's excellent to hear a similar perspective from like that I have to sort of where quote we are as the LGBTQ community. So, how you feeling with those first couple questions? How you feeling? Ready to go?
Yes. Are we on commercial right now?
No.
Huh?
Oh,
No, not right now. No. He said, "Are you going to commercial right now?" I'm ready for commercial. I'm sorry. So
I just asked the question. I'm
Um,
also focusing on the Georgia Senate race right now.
yes, so were we
yes,
actually.
we're getting updates for that. I'm hoping that we win. I'm saying we, the Democrat Party. I hope we win that. I really hope we win that. I think
I
it's
hope so
needed.
too.
It's really really needed.
It's getting close.
It's
It's
getting close.
I'm stressed. I'm stressed. I'm stressed. It's fine. Everything's
Listen,
fine.
I think it's
Everyone is totally calm.
we're fine, we're calm, everyone. So let's talk about it because this segment in this series is called the Rainbow Wave, and all across the country, even here in Providence, Rhode Island, there has been a lot of candidates that identify LGBTQIA plus that have been elected, that have been.
That is correct. Hello?
Uh-oh. Something has gone very wrong. Technical difficulties. Rep Tam, can you still hear me?
I can still hear you.
Excellent. Do you mind if I just ask you some questions here?
Sure.
Fabulous. And if there's something you got to do, just run and I will talk to myself. No worries. So Dion was just talking about the Rainbow Wave, and it estimated. So the Victory Fund estimates around 160 victories, I think, across the country, in terms of LGBTQ plus people. And disclaimer: I say queer people. I understand that that is not a lovely term for everybody, um, but so the Rainbow Wave in my head is very much a welcoming of queer people into the rooms where the decisions are made. And so, do you think this will continue? Do you think there's a upkeep or a momentum in LGBTQ folks entering political races and sitting in important seats?
Oh, absolutely. So let me just talk about my race for a bit. I ran in a relatively strong Democratic district. So there's a, but the challenge was the primary because I was going up against a 14-year incumbent. And I think even though we've lost some seats on the national level for the Democratic Party, more and more LGBT people are running in competitive primaries and winning. In primaries, in districts that are safe Democratic. And in a way, I'm really happy about that because that means our Congress, our legislators, our Senates are starting to look more like the general populace. Representation matters. It helps to have someone at the seat of the table. So I'll tell you another story. I did ask someone, does it really matter in Hawaii? And they did tell me yes, because this person was a former legislator who told me that,
This person was a former what?
A former legislator.
Former legislator, sorry.
So he would say that at times something will slip out and someone will say, something derogatory or homophobic, not in anything that is malice, but it would just slip. And it would help to have someone in the room to remind them that they exist and that they can't make comments like that.
It's crazy. This I bowl and I love that you say that. You just never know. And I was bowling over the summer out in South County, part of Rhode Island. And there's a gentleman there who I talk to all the time, would have beers after bowling with. Great guy, but he would always say every time he left it, threw a good shot and left the 10 pin in the corner, he would say the word faggot. Would say it every single time. And so one day I didn't hear him, and then finally I heard him say it. I heard him say it while I was bowling next to him, and I didn't say anything right then and there. I waited till after we were done bowling, and as we sat down at the table, and I explained to him why you can't say things like, and how it made me feel when he said that. And after explaining to him how it made me feel, the gentleman has not said that phrase at all, has not said the word at all. So I think you're right. Having someone at the table, someone in the group, to say, hey, that's not okay, and explain why that. I think that's important.
So all of this, Reptam is all of the things that we've been echoing on this show. In the community at large, Dion is a powerful activist in Providence. He is a extremely boots on the ground kind of maker of and shaker. And I've met with some success with millions of other people. Millions. It's Rhode Island. It's the smallest state in the union. But with a bunch of other people running food drives and supporting the Black Lives Matter movement. And so all of this has sort of informed the who is going to be in the room to make those corrections. And oftentimes, the person who is the queer person, the gay man, you know, the I call them the resident queer 101 professor. Often the entire, um, you know, uh, the magnanimous topic that is LGBTQIA people will fall on that one queer person in those groups. And so, me personally, I am 100% into the queer 101 professor role. It is a blessing
It's
for
fun.
me
It's
personally
fun
to
sometimes.
do that. Um, but not everybody is comfortable with that, and oftentimes it comes like in the middle of your workday or in the middle of a meeting or in the middle of, it's like, can we like pause and just like, can we just finish what we're doing now? I'll be happy to answer questions later. And so knowing all of this, my question for you is, how would you, we were talking about, we were hoping that the rainbow wave would continue and the rainbow wave would really sort of um usher in a new era, it's a big word, but era
Yeah.
of politics and decision making. What would you say to folks who are interested in um, entering political spheres, but don't necessarily also want to sign up for getting their PhD in queer studies and then being the human glossary that so often queer people become in spaces that are not queer dominated?
So your question is, what is my advice to people who want to get into politics? Or
Yes.
okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
I know.
What I can tell people is, if you want to get into politics, it's a lot of work, um, and you have to be committed if you want to win. And um, winning is the easiest thing. Serving your community, listening to the people, understanding their hardships is um, the one thing that will make you a successful legislator and a leader. And if you are going to go into politics and into this kind of life, you have to be yourself. Do not change who you are. And there will be times where you will want to change who you are and pretend to be someone you're not. But ultimately, the voters are going to vote for you based on who you are. And when people do, and people are not going to vote for someone that's not themselves, basically. And when they do, it often doesn't turn out too well for them. So that is my single greatest advice I can give anyone.
Thank you so
And you don't
much.
even have to run for office just to be in politics. Like
It's true.
me, for example, I worked as a staffer getting coffee and answering phone calls before I ultimately made the jump. And
You know, one of the
if that's the case, my advice to you is, if you do become a staffer, is to be nice to everyone, because you never know who they're going to be 1 year from now. So
that is true. That's
Good
true.
advice.
because I did
I'm gonna
have
ask you.
one time. Yeah, I did
No,
have
good,
one
good. Sorry,
time.
good.
I did have a legislature kind of disrespected me at one point. I don't hold it against her, but it did surprise her when I won.
And this is a little personal, this is not a professional question, but um, did that feel yummy when she was surprised?
Um,
You don't have
you
to
know,
answer
I,
that. I
you
understand.
know, I would just say, yeah, it did bring some satisfaction, and but more importantly, it got me thinking of that advice that I give to everyone. So I gave it to my staffers. I gave it to any latest staff that I have here right now. It's not just to be nice to the staffers, but to be nice to anyone that walks through the door, because you never know who they're going to be 1 year from now. They could be
So,
I like that
in
a
this
lot.
room.
I like that a lot.
so, I really wanted to get to this question, and the reason why I wanted to get to this question because COVID has hit everywhere in the nation, and everyone has every state and across the country, across the world, and businesses have felt effects due to COVID. Um, what plans are being discussed to provide some economic relief, and what are the decisions on how to present something like that in the future? And the reason why I asked that question is because I know that Hawaii, majority of the economic money that comes into the coffers is from tourism, travel and tourism. What are some things to differ? Because I know that has not been an impact on the economy.
So some of the success for Hawaii in terms of the COVID battle has been that we are one of the most successful in terms of keeping the cases low. But that has come at the cost of our economy. So even though we've kept our cases low, we have the second highest unemployment rate in the entire nation. And it's almost as if you can have one or the other. You can either keep your cases low or you can have a thriving economy during a pandemic. And I tell people, no, it doesn't have to be one or the other. You look at places like Taiwan and they're having concerts right now. So it doesn't have to be one or the other. It has to, it's a deeper dive into our discussion on how we're going to diversify our economy away from tourism that is unsustainable. So right now, I am happy to have this opportunity to work with the department and the University of Hawaii and other legislators that share the same vision that, to diversify our economy, we need to go into green tech and green infrastructure. So the plan that we are writing right now would allow us to invest into green technology and infrastructure through the University of Hawaii to develop, you know, solar grids, smart grids, hydropower, you name it, et cetera, et cetera. And what happens is when this research is developed, we not only do we bring in, we allow businesses to use this research for free, as long as they A, operate out of Hawaii, and B, hire a quota of the local workforce here so that we solve some of our employment woes. It would generate jobs, it would create a new industry, and lastly, it would help us meet our clean energy goals. So in 2015, Hawaii also passed a bill that would put us on the track for 100% renewable energy by 2045. And we are nowhere near that, in my opinion, because our building department is still approving buildings and construction projects that, do not meet those standards. So I'm hoping this will at least get it started or push us closer and accelerate to catch up to where we're supposed to be by now. So that's kind of the big plan that we want to know. And I like to look at this pandemic as a glass half full kind of way. I'm an optimist. And that, we have the opportunity to reform our government. We have the opportunity to make big changes right now. And I hope we don't squander this, because when we finally get back to normal rates, the last thing I want to hear is, well, it's always been done this way, so why should we change? Or, that's going to be such a long process, or I don't think we have the willpower to do it. To me, that's bullshit. And that's clap in all
I like that.
my voters that I promise that I will work hard to to reform our government. That's why I think that's one of the reasons why I won too. It's because, like I said, I was going up against a 14-year incumbent, and voters wanted someone new and wanted someone with the ability to bring these perspectives and new ideas to the government. And I'm really trying.
Well, I am
Well,
absolutely so jazzed by everything you're saying.
so
So,
before we go to commercial, I have one more question to ask you. What is your favorite dessert?
My favorite dessert. Okay. I think my favorite desserts would just have to be cheesecake.
Yeah, because I love cheesecake. It's
Yeah,
you
it's
can
really
put
good.
strawberries on it, blueberries, caramel, chocolate, however you want it, you can have it.
Yeah,
Matter of fact,
I tell people that your favorite thing has to be something that you'll never ever get tired of, and I'll never get tired of eating a cheesecake.
a
that's
whole cheesecake.
so. With all that said,
I
guys,
love
we'll
that
be right
image.
back. We'll be right back after these messages. And welcome back. Welcome back. What a show we had. Full and we're just gonna, I'm gonna throw it out there. We're gonna have a few final thoughts real quick. I want to thank Representative Tam for your time out of your busy day to sit down with us, all the way from Hawaii. So much. What are your final thoughts that you have on?
My final thoughts are, first, I want to thank you for inviting me on today and giving me this opportunity to talk to your audience. And I want to go back to what I said about, getting involved. Everyone should at least be awake when it comes to politics. These issues matter. And what I see is there is a growing hunger right now for change. And I want a lot of people, especially that have never been involved in politics before, to, latch onto that and be a part of that. And whether it's running for office, organizing your community, or, working for someone you believe in, or volunteer on a campaign, get out there and just do it, because it's going to feel really good, and you're going to make a difference.
Thank you, Representative Tam. Um, Neight, the great.
That's me. So my final thoughts are what an honor it is to meet you, Rep Tam, to be on the show. Dion, thank you so much for having me again. I know that you are doing pretty transformational work here with this show and everybody that's behind the scenes, making sure that I know what I'm doing. And it has been wonderful learning about Hawaii, learning about some of the initiatives that you've got going on, and sort of if we can learn from each other and we can help grow together as leaders, as people with voices, I think it is very important to keep having these types of discussions. I said this over the break, but I don't want this to be our only interaction with you, Rep Tam. It has been an absolute pleasure, and I am happy that I have gotten to chat with you. That we've gotten to chat with you this evening, afternoon for you.
Thank you. The pleasure is mine.
Well, I just want to say thank you to both my guests. I want to say my guest host, Neight, my sibling here in Rhode Island. I love you so much. And also to Representative Adrian Tam, I'm sorry. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming on today. Here's my final. We are now looking at the challenge of our tomorrow. Our legislation could possibly be hijacked by a group of GOP senators and the current president. Now more than ever, we need to put our petty differences aside. We need to stop worrying about what differences we may have of skin color or sexual orientation or sexual gender identity or gender identity. What we need more than ever now is to protect the democracy that each and every one of us, whether we're Democrat or Republican, conservative or progressive, that we so say that we believe. Tomorrow is very important. Tonight is important. These next few days and what happens in America is important. Let us remember the same cheer that we had over the holidays and that same cheer of giving that we had pandemic first. I asked a few weeks ago, about a couple of months ago on the show, are we our brothers? The answer is we are. Let us go into 2021 knowing that we are our brother's keeper, no matter what our brother looks like and what our brother or sister sounds like or our sibling sounds like. Let's be there for one another. Let's rise together. Let's rise together. Until next time, good night, Rhode Island, and good night, Hawaii.